and welcome to session 4 of Unit 4. This session will introduce you to nuclear power plants and atomic bomb. By the end of this session, you should understand how nuclear power plants and atomic bomb works. Let us look at nuclear reactors. Nuclear reactions, as we said early on, are the reactions involving the nucleus of an atom. And so since these reactions involve the nucleus of an atom, results in the emission of radiations as a result of the disintegration of the nucleus or fusion of two nuclei. These radiations that are emitted are very harmful to humans, and so nuclear reactions must be controlled in order to reduce the exposure to the environment. It's because of this that nuclear reactors are invented. So nuclear reactors, they are sort of setups in which nuclear reactions are carried out. The nuclear reactors produce and control the release of energy from splitting the atoms of chemical elements. So the energies that are released from these nuclear power reactors are used as heat to generate a steam that is used to produce electricity. The world's first nuclear reactor operated naturally in uranium, and this happened about 2 billion years ago, and it happened in rich uranium ore bodies that are moderated by percolating rainwater. So reactors today are derived from designs that are originally developed for propelling submarines and large naval ships, and they generate about 85% of the world's nuclear electricity. Let us look at the components of a nuclear reactor. So the nuclear reactor is made up of different components. One of them is the fuel. Basically, uranium is what is used as fuel in nuclear reactors, and the pellets of uranium oxide are arranged in tubes to form fuel rod inside the nuclear reactor. The other component is the moderator. In nuclear reactions, neutrons are released, and in the nuclear reactor, where the nuclear reaction is taking place, neutrons are released, and the neutrons are the ones that keeps the reaction in progress. So the function of the moderator is to slow down the neutrons released from the nuclear fission reaction so that they can cause more fission. Usually water is used as a moderator, but maybe heavy water, so the deuterium water or even graphite. Another component is the control rod. The control rods are made with neutron absorbing materials such as cadmium, hafnium, or even boron. These control rods are inserted or withdrawn from the core of the nuclear reactor to control the rate of the reaction. So when they are inserted, they absorb some of the neutrons and slow down the nuclear reaction, and when they are withdrawn, more neutrons are produced, which speeds up the nuclear reaction. We also have the coolant. So the coolant is basically a fluid that circulates through the core, and this helps to transfer the heat from the nuclear reactor. And in light water nuclear reactors, so nuclear reactors that light water is used in them, the water acts as the coolant in the nuclear reactor. Another component of the nuclear reactor we shall be looking at is the pressure vessel, which contains the reactor core and the moderator or the coolant, and it also holds the fuel and convey the coolant through the surrounding moderator. The next component is the containment, which surrounds the reactor and the associated steam generator, and it is designed to protect this reactor and associated steam generator from outside intrusion and to protect those outside from the effects of radiations in case of any serious malfunctioning inside. So the steam generators, they are heat exchangers, and they basically help to transfer heat from one fluid to another. Having generally discussed nuclear reactors, let's now narrow our discussion to nuclear fission reactors. The nuclear fission reactors are devices that permit a controlled chain reaction of nuclear fission. This nuclear fission plays important role in power plants to generate electricity. So in the power plants, the nuclear fission reactor is used to produce heat, which is also used to drive steams that start an electric generator, and that is how the electricity is generated using the nuclear fission reactor. The nuclear fission reactor has four main components, which we can talk about: the nuclear fuel, the control rod, the moderator, and liquid, which is usually water, that transfers the heat from the nuclear reactor to the turbines that generate the electricity. The fuel rod usually is a cylinder that contains fissionable materials, and the nuclear fuel is primarily the uranium-238 plus about 3 uranium-235. It's important to know that because the uranium-235 isotopes are highly diluted with uranium-238, an explosion like that of a nuclear bomb is not possible. And also, a reaction rate which depends on the number of neutrons that initiate the fission of other uranium-235 nuclei is controlled by the control rod, which is inserted into the nuclear reactor. So this is a typical light water nuclear reactor, and we shall see how it operates. So first of all, heat from the fuel rods will raise the temperature of the liquid water in the reactor. Then a pump will circulate the hot water right into the steam generator. Then the steam produced in the generator will pass through into the steam turbines, which operates an electric generator. From the turbines, the steam will come into the condenser, where in the condenser it will cool down in the condenser, and in the condenser the cooling coils in the condenser will help in the condensation, and a nearby river is what supplies the cold water to the condenser. Nuclear fission reactions are very important to human life in that they help to generate plenty electricity, and also it helps to conserve millions of tons of fossil fuel. However, they come with certain disadvantages, such as the generation of radioactive waste products, which are very harmful to humans. And so there is a need to develop a new nuclear reactor that one day may provide electrical power without the production of high radioactive waste. and this type of nuclear reactors are currently under study. Let us shift our attention to nuclear fusion reactors. So the nuclear fusion reactors, they join two lighter nuclei together to form a heavier nucleus. A typical example is the sun, which joins two hydrogen nuclei together to form a helium atom. With the idea of nuclear fusion, it seems the disadvantage associated with nuclear fission reaction is solved. However, the temperature in excess of about 10 million degrees Celsius are needed to initiate a fusion reaction. Since no material can withstand such a high temperature, it is easy to see the problem of constructing a fusion reactor. Current research is directed toward using magnetic field as a container for fusion reactions and triggering the reaction with lasers. So in the sun, the nuclear fusion reaction that occurs involves a first step where a protium fuses with another protium. The protium is a hydrogen with mass number of 1 and proton number of 1. When the two of them fuse, they form the deuterium, which has mass number of 2 and a proton number of 1, with the emission of a beta particle. The deuterium formed also fuses with another protium in the second step, which forms a tritium. Tritium has 3 mass number and then a proton number of 2 with the emission of a gamma radiation. So 2 tritiums then fuse in the third step to form the helium plus 2 moles of protium. Let's look at the breeder reactor. So the breeder reactors are basically used to breed fission fuel. One fascinating feature of the fission power basically is the breeding of fission fuel from a non-fissionable uranium-238. So what happens is that a small amount of fissionable isotope will be mixed with uranium-238 in the reactor. So the fission process will liberate neutrons that will convert the relatively abundant uranium-238, which are not fissionable, to uranium-239 with the emission of beta particle, and this will also result in the formation of neptunium-239, which in turn decays by beta emission to fissionable plutonium-239. Let us look at atomic bomb. The atomic bomb is a small amount of chemical explosion, and this pushes together 2 or more masses of fissionable materials to get a supercritical mass. So at the supercritical mass, there is rapid chain reaction resulting in splitting of this fissionable nucleus, and this in turn releases an enormous amount of energy. In the GAN type bomb, one piece of uranium-235 of subcritical mass is held into another piece by a chemical explosion. The 2 pieces together give a supercritical mass, and a nuclear explosion results. In this slide, we shall be looking at atomic bomb versus hydrogen bomb. We can strike any target of location using devices or bombs known as radiological dispersion devices. These radiological dispersion devices are termed as dirty bombs. The dirty bombs are traditionally explosives that has radioactive materials packed around them. So upon detonation, the radioactive material is spread over a large region, and this is what makes this kind of bombs very deadly, and they are referred to as dirty bombs. Now, when we consider the comparison between hydrogen bomb and atomic bombs, the hydrogen bombs, which are also known as the thermonuclear bombs, they are more powerful than the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb are also known as the fission bombs. The difference between the thermonuclear bomb and the fission bomb begins at the atomic level. Fission bombs like those used in Nagasaki and Hiroshima work by splitting the nucleus of the atom. When the neutrons or the neutral particles of the atomic nuclei split, some hits the nuclei of nearby atoms, splitting them too. The result is very explosive chain reaction.